over to you. Let's start session 4, Juhi.
Hello. So I've got a lot of questions about spending habits today, morality. So I want to start with the fact that Gen Z has very peculiar spending habits. Something I found in a documentary as well as some data, which is quite stark. They don't have the means for it, but they're spending it on consumption as opposed to something productive. So they're not spending that. They're not taking loans to build a house or build an asset, but they're taking loans to attend a Coldplay concert. Spend lavishly like their peers. What is driving that trend, and how? What do you make of it?
Okay, very very loaded question, and the first question is a tough one. And once मैं बोलता हूँ ना मेरा गला गर्म होएगा तो अच्छे आंसर निकलेंगे. But अभी के लिए let's assume कि यही question है. तो इसमें ना I may not be the right person to give you a lot of feedback on money because my spending habits aren't the best. In fact, I tell all my young colleagues कि मुझसे तुम्हें जो सीखना है सीखो, but पैसा मैनेजमेंट मत सीखो because I have not been the right person. I have not saved a lot of money. I have not been prudent with it. So I am not the right person to comment on money matters. But I can tell you what I observe as a behavioral whatever person as a hobbyist anthropologist and so on and so forth. तो यार इसमें ना बहुत सारे पिलर्स हैं जिनकी मैं बात करूंगा. सो पिलर वन, मोर देन जेंसी आई टॉक अबाउट व्हाट हैज लेड देम टू बिकम दिस. सो a lot of factors have contributed into them becoming this. So, for example, they have access to media which is non-stop. So 24/7, 365, they are on the internet. They are cued onto what is happening. There is Instagram and there is Twitter and there was TikTok and there is multiple things. And what happens on those platforms is that a lot of these influencers, a lot of these people who show glimpses of their great life. I mean, imagine they have 24 hours in a day. Out of that, 30 seconds must be the happiest time of their life, which they attribute to being in a cafe or being driven around in an Uber Black or wearing a fancy cloth. So a lot of young people look at that and they assume that is the life of those people on an entire day basis, and they are sort of mimetic theory. They sort of want to copy that. So that is first variable that I think is impacting that entire thing. So the variable of copying other people, being like them, being in is one. That's one thing. Second thing that I think which is working in this in for this cohort is the fact that their parents have made enough money and a house to live in. तो उनके पास ना, जवान लोगों के पास पैसा कमाने का फॉर द लाइफ प्रेशर नहीं है. जो ही जब मैं बड़ा हो रहा था, आई एम 43 ऑब्वियसली. सो आई ऑलवेज न्यू दैट आई विल हैव टू वर्क हार्ड टू बिल्ड माई ओन हाउस. माई पेरेंट्स विल गेट मी एजुकेटेड, बट उसके बाद मैं खुद अपने आप काम करूँगा. आई विल पे बैक माई लोन एंड आई विल इंश्योर दैट the loan goes back. I will have to earn money to do that. What has happened is people my age who are 45, they have they have kids who are 12, 13, 14 now, and people like me have made a lot of money. They made two houses, they made great careers, and they made lot of these comfortable things. Plus they are coming from that anti hard work to their kids. So what is happening is that लोग बोलते हैं कि मैंने स्ट्रगल किया है, मेरे बच्चे स्ट्रगल क्यों करें. लॉट ऑफ माय फ्रेंड्स से दैट आई वांट माय किड्स टू बी ग्राउंडेड. So like my best friend, he's got a daughter who's 13, 12, 13, and he's saying that मैंने बस में धक्के खा के स्कूल गया. Why would my daughter go into school in a bus? Can she not go in a car? Another friend whose daughter is 9 years old, he says my daughter will go to a competition in Singapore. Imagine doing when I was growing up, I couldn't go from. I used to live in East Delhi. From East to West Delhi, I couldn't go from there to there because there was no access and there was no opportunity. But now, thanks to the parents making money, the kids have little less pressure. Plus this entire thing about uh, FOMO, living for the day, not thinking about the future, is anyways in. So if you marry these three four things, no, what happens is that for some reason these kids really want to be able to say live it up, and and uh, and and uh, 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 and that probably causes them to not save but spend. And then and and the spending is visible in the way they operate. In fact, Joey, it's only for you and not for other people. There was this landmark article that a lady published. It's called Urban Poor or something. I don't know the exact name. Search for urban poverty, urban poor. That was an article on, I think, BuzzFeed that eventually became a book on urban poverty. I think you should totally read that. If you cannot read that, skim through it and probably see the summary of it, and you will be able to decode this far far better. And the book is, by the way, 7 8 years old. The article is probably that vintage, and the thesis there is that there are people who do not eat for 3 days so that on the fourth day they could go to a fancy restaurant, eat there, take pictures, put that on Instagram, and then feel happy about that. So that entire article talks about how there are these invisible urban young people who are poor, but they don't look poor to us because when they step out they are dressed in the best clothes and the best whatever. They go to the best restaurants and they have the best phones and so on and so forth. So that is what I think will answer a lot of uh, your questions.
But when you talk about this influence, right, magazines पहले भी आती थी. मेरी mother के time पे भी, when she was growing up, magazines existed even then. So what is it that is driving Gen Zs to spend so compulsively on these things? Because ऐसा नहीं है that people from my parents' generation did not have the resources. Like my grandpa had a house, right? But my mother still knew कि उसके बाद again she has to build a house of her own. So I think it's just with every generation. मेरे दादा का घर था, but even after that my father knew कि उनको घर खुद का खुद बनाना है. So I think in that way, even if my dad has a house, I have to think about my own house at the end of it. But what is it that is driving Gen Zs towards this?
If I were to speculate, no, I would say that एक टाइम था कि मैगजीन में आने के लिए ना आपको you had to be somebody to be published in a magazine. Today, each young person runs a magazine by themselves. So think of it like that. That in your mother's time when she was probably reading a Reader's Digest, I'm assuming she must be reading that. I was reading a magazine called Suman Saurabh. I don't even know if you know a magazine like that. But my mom was reading Greh Shobha. There was a magazine for women, Greh Shobha, right? To be able to be published in Grashobha, you had to be somebody. You couldn't get published there. As a young person, to get published in a Grashobha or a Suman Saurabh or even a Reader Digest, I had to be able to write well and talk about myself well. Plus, if I were in a magazine, the medium of a magazine made it very difficult for me to share that at scale. I could get one copy of the magazine. I could probably get it photocopied, and then I would courier it to all my friends and family. I mean, it's a lot of friction. Why would I do that? Today, I don't need a Greshobha. I can take, pardon my language and pardon my uh, uh, stereotyping, a young girl today can take photos in a very provocative setting, from clothes to food to people that person is hanging out with. A young boy can take photos in a very aggressive setting with, let's say, fast cars and concerts and so on and so forth. Takes a photo, puts that on Instagram like that, on Snapchat like that, and then it is very easy for him to get discovered by people, and vice versa. This young guy is today seeing people like him being showed off in glory. Back in the day, if you came in Grashobha, you knew कि यार वो तो कोई बड़ा आदमी है, उसको मैं टच नहीं कर सकता. There's no relatability question to it, to that other person. Today, young people can say, "अरे, this kid was in my class, this kid was my senior, and if he or she can be in or can be trending on Instagram, what can I do to get trending? What can I do to be trending there?" And on top of it, you know, right? Humans are essentially optimizing themselves for discovery, for fame, for survival, for growth, etc., etc. So I think anything that allows them to be known on a larger platform, they would do that. It's just that today it is far, far, far easy to a create content, b distribute content, and c get influenced by content. I mean, back in the day, magazine हम क्यों पढ़ रहे थे? Because एक magazine आती थी जो ही look at the behavior between, let's say, your mom or my mom. There was one magazine that we would probably borrow from a neighbor. We'll get that for like a day. In that day, I'll skim through it and read some and then send it back, and then I will move on. But today, there is constant phone all the time. Like that, my I think is the uh, reason. And I'm speculating right now. I've not done deeper research to understand why that's happening, but that's that. Plus, I think what has also happened is that there are thousands of 0 to 100 stories. I mean, from a regular hawker who becomes a overnight sensation with his music, to a girl next door becoming the face of the revolution, to like there's so many things that are happening today that were impossible to happen in a medium that took 15 days to put out. Even newspapers were like they were supposed to be fast and the news will come to us after like 24 hours, 48 hours. Today, moment somebody resigns in Delhi, in the next third minute I am aware of it in Bombay that this has happened, and I have in those 3 minutes not just the news but analysis and the perspectives and the opinions and the highlights being sent to me, right? So that is so fast and things move so uh, widely that there is no other option but to get distracted and to get inspired and to get jealous and to be like them. So that's my answer.
Right. Again, taking from that, Gen Z is also known to take loans for,
Yes.
again, spending on these things. So it's one thing that you have limited resources.
Hmm.
Assuming a Gen Z is taking a salary of 50,000 and he's blowing the entirety of it on rent and all sorts of things. But it's another aspect that despite having a salary, then you feel the need to borrow and take a personal loan, which has become so instant, like one or two clicks and you have a loan, right? Without a collateral, without any document verification. And you're taking these loans for like trivial things like, oh, I want to like live that kind of lifestyle. Do you think that is a dangerous trend to begin with?
uh, okay. um, Sorry, it is 100%. uh, there are I mean I don't have data handy, I can pull that out, but there are data points that say that we today are maxing out on these loans. I mean, loans are of two kinds. A, the loans are of loans that we take on our credit cards, and B, these buy now pay later BNPL loans that we take for short term things. And these loans could be for a bike, to a concert, to a travel, to a whatever. Now there are data points that say that we are probably at a point wherein we are using our credit cards to the max. I could be wrong, but there was some report that came out that said there are 2 trillion rupees have been taken on credit cards in the last whatever number. I'm bad with numbers, but it's a staggering number that I can't even imagine to comprehend it. How does it look like? A. B. BNPL was anyways a problem, and I think the government of India had put a stop to BNPL loans because it was spoiling not just the young people by spending money, but the delinquency and people not paying back loans was making it very tough and very difficult for these companies to survive, and it was taking havoc in a different manner altogether. So it is there is a very well documented, data backed, evidence backed conversation that these loans are bad for the world. So there is no, I'm not going to defend those. I'm not going to talk about those. There is enough and more content. What is triggering is that this entire thing about urban poor I spoke about. There are people who will stay hungry for 3 days because on the fourth day they want to be at a fancy restaurant getting clicked by their friends and their colleagues. I think it's a manifestation of that. In fact, there's a data again somebody shared with me that most people that show off an iPhone today cannot afford an iPhone. An iPhone is probably worth the 4 month salary of their payment, whatever, and yet they have iPhones, and they will beg, borrow, or steal for getting an iPhone. I do not know what is it about iPhone in India that makes it so lucrative. So there are people who do that, and I think they do that because they seek validation, and for them probably the inner, I mean, it's a stupid uncly philosophical thing, but that inner confidence requires them to carry a iPhone to get validation from their peers. I mean in my age you get validated if you were articulate, if you were in the school band team, if you were, I don't know, man, if you are academically
Yes.
sound. Today
Right.
you are validated if you're wearing uh, a shoe from, I think, whatever, veg, non-veg, whatever that new brand is. You're
Yeah.
validated if you are chief operating officer at the age of 19. So these things have started to matter a lot more to young people, and with every age things were different. Like back in the day, I think in your parents' age, my parents' age, you were important if you were a chartered accountant or a doctor or something. In my age, computer science became cool. Today's age, being an influencer is cool. In fact, brings me to another data point that said somebody said that uh, being an influencer is a legit career option that a lot of young people want to uh, pursue, and they will put in the effort to do that. So that is my other thought. But yeah, I mean, I don't have data points to be honest in front of me, but from whatever little I know, I think there is enough and more evidence that people do these kind of things. So that
Think somewhere over 70% of iPhones that are bought on credit.
I'm
So
sure
according to my
I will not
research.
be I will not be surprised if that number is even higher. But I, like I said, I'm not the right. Uh, I don't have the data points to. I can only talk from anecdotal uh, perspective.
So have we stretched the notion of YOLO or you'll only live once a bit too far? Or I would say the Gen Zs have stretched it a bit too far.
I don't know. I don't want to comment on that. So for every, let's say, for every Gen Z or whatever who's living it up, there is probably five more who are working hard to earn their place in the world. So uh, I don't want to like just say कि blindly बोल दूं कि भाई वो तो ऐसे कर रहे हैं. For every good there is a bad. For every bad there is a good. However, what is happening for sure is I don't know about Gen Z specifically, uh, but most of us, even you and me, for example, are optimizing for experience compared to say long-term thinking and savings and all of that. And I think again it's anecdotal, but people around me are uh, spending for today and not thinking about tomorrow. And again, that is my anecdotal evidence, and I can validate what you're saying. I don't have the data, but for every uh, uh, person I know seems to be optimizing for today and not for tomorrow. So
If you could comment on the morality of all of this, more than the practicality, what about the morality of going into debt for consumption?
okay. Again, I will have a biased answer. I am somebody who hates the idea of debt. I don't like it at all. As in, personally, Saurabh doesn't like the idea of debt. However, I know that for certain asset classes, debt is a great thing. So if you want to buy a house, debt is a great thing because it gives you tax advantages and la, 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 all of that happens. I use a credit card. I use a lot of credit cards, and that is essentially debt hidden behind a fancy product. And I love to use it because it gives me points, it gives me travel benefits, and I'm very prudent with it. I've never paid a fee on a credit card. I had taken loan from a friend, but I've not paid fee to a credit card company. I'm a bad customer for them because I'm not a delinquent customer. So there's nothing wrong with that per se. It's like a tool, it's like gun in your it's like a gun in your hand. You can use it to shoot other people or shoot yourself, or you can use it to have that validation that I'm safe. But gun is a gun, right? There's nobody safe with a gun around. So debt is like that. There is nobody safe with debt around. Some people may feel that they're wise to have that gun slash debt in their hands, and some people may not know how to use it. But that's the answer. And I think the answer is, if you think about your relationship with money, if you are somebody who goes unhinged once you get access to money, that is a bad thing for you. Stay away from it. But if you're somebody who's prudent, can be nice, can be wise, can be okay with money, I think that is okay for you. You should have the option to have the debt. You may not use it. So think of it from this lens. Last time you got 5x your salary in one shot. Argument's sake, let's say your salary is 10,000 rupees and you got 50,000 rupees from some place like that. What was an instinct? Did you want to go buy the next thing? Did you want to save it? Do you want to put into a FD? Depending on what your instinct said, you will know who you are, what is your personality like, what is it that you seek, and then basis of that you could take a decision and say, okay, this is for me or this is not for me, and then uh, read from there on. So that's my thought.
As a bunny, I think the saving mentality is just there for me.
I am
I
a
look
banya.
at money and I look at it as I look at it as isko save karte hain.
uh, 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 I'm a bunny as well, but I'm very, very bad with money. Every time I've got 5x, forget 5x, every time I've got 2x the money that I make every month, I run to the nearest shop and buy something cool that I may not even use it. So I'm not the right, like I said, I'm not the right person to talk about money. In terms of the question to morality, I think it's an independent choice, and the choice should be guided by your own, uh, uh, what do you call it? awareness and not somebody else telling you what is to be done. So that.
Right. Last time you spoke of something about in the context of morality, and someone asked you if she should get and start doing OF, OnlyFans. You said something about your inner CPU or something, your system or OS, right? The
OS,
term was
yes.
OS. Does your OS allow you to have it? Right. I
Oh,
have a,
absolutely, absolutely. My OS
yeah.
allows me to have access to that, but not use it. Your OS may say that, so you don't make a two by two access to it, using it. So my OS says have access and don't use. Somebody will say have access and use. Somebody will say no access, no use. Somebody will say no access, but probably use when I need to. So that is where the answer is.
I was coming to a larger question here about morality. And again, talking from an OS perspective, since you deal with a lot of businesses, how much morality do businesses have or ought to have?
Here, see, it's a tough one to answer. I'll tell you why. Businesses exist to make money. That's very, very clear. There's no, if somebody says businesses are there to do societal good, I think they are fooling themselves and the world around them. A business exists to make money. Now, some businesses will make money um, by making money the right way. For example, they will, if they charge you 100 rupees, they will give you a value that you feel is worth 100 rupees. It may cost them 5, but you will feel, अरे 100 रुपए का value मिल गया मेरे को. So that is one. And there are some businesses that will keep overcharging you for no rhyme or reason, and then you will be pissed off, right? So business तो पैसे कमाने के लिए ही है, उसमें तो doubt नहीं है. And we shouldn't even think about कि business कोई भगवान का रूप है. And that's why probably uh, communists still are relevant in the world around us, that socialists and communists are still relevant around us. Coming back, I don't want to get into politics. I'm not well informed about that. But coming to the businesses, so businesses are there to make money. Now the question and the burden is on the founder of the business, if even if it's a large company, and then people who run the business. So, for example, in the world that we live in, Tata as a business house is known to be a fairly trustworthy, good kind of a company. Are all Tata employees honest? Probably not. Are majority of Tata employees honest? Probably yes. Is Tata as a group has upheld its reputation as an honest group? Probably yes. Similarly, you could look at any other group, let's say Gargs, if it was big. Is Gargs the most honest business group? Probably no. You will probably have the answer. Uh, is everybody at Gargs is a dishonest person? Probably no. Some people may be honest. So the answer lies in the individual choice. A business, if you ask me, a business has to uh, do a win-win kind of a conversation wherein I win, you win, and the world wins as well. And the winning could mean different things to different people. Like I said, I'm not saying that 100 रुपए का माल बेचा तो 100 रुपए का इनपुट लगा दो, जीरो प्रॉफिट कमाओ और ये 10% प्रॉफिट कमाओ. आई एम सेइंग 100 रुपए का माल बेचो तो सामने वाले आदमी को लगना चाहिए कि उसको 125 रुपए का वैल्यू मिला है. Let's take of Apple as an example. I am a big fan of Apple. Again, anecdotal conversations. I don't have hard data right now, but Apple apparently makes 30 to 40% on every product that it sells. So if you buy an iPhone for a lakh, Apple net takes 30% of that profit home. Now that's a huge number for a mobile phone or a device company. Now, at the same time, despite the 30% profit, Apple claims to be the greenest electronics manufacturer in the world. I do not know again क्या number है क्या नहीं है. Like for example, when you buy an Apple product, the amount of plastics that is used is minimal. Packaging में plastic नहीं होगा, bag में plastic नहीं होगा, shrink wrap नहीं होगा. So they don't use plastic. They claim that they recycle every phone that comes back to them. So they say that every new iPhone is made of 80%, 90% recycled, whatever material, titanium, rubber, plastic, whatever. So are they doing good for the world? Probably yes. Are they doing good for themselves? Definitely yes. Are they doing good for the customers? Probably yes, because people continue to buy it at whatever price they throw it as. I mean, Apple can launch a phone for 2 lakhs, and there'll be people still queued outside the Apple store to buy that. So Apple is a great example of that. Now you can think of many more examples. Like for example, there used to be this business long ago. I don't know if it's still around or not, called Warby Parker. They would make frames, sunglasses frames. They said that for every frame that you buy, we donate one to somebody in need in Africa. Now, is that a good strategy? Probably yes. I mean, because that clearly means that 50% profit is happening to be able to do that. Were they fashionable products? Absolutely yes. People bought them even though there was no donation happening. Were they making money? Probably yes. That's why they're there, right? So so thought here is uh, thought here is that you could choose to build a business which is a win-win-win, or you could choose to build a business that is slightly questionable on ethics, and then you can find your own ground and find your own way. But if it's a business, I have a very strong opinion that if it's a business, the first objective of the business has to make money for the business, and everything else comes second.
But in a business, you've got a lot of aspects. You don't just have to look at the quality of the materials in any case. You have to take care of your workers, you have to make sure that human rights are complied with, all those factors. So when you're looking at a business from a holistic perspective, let's just forget कि वो 5 रुपए का माल लगा रहा है and he's selling it for 100 and I'm getting like 150 का value. Let's just presume for a fact that okay, all that is said and done, are they complying with human rights? What about their own morals at the end of the day? Own morals as in within the business sphere, not otherwise. What they do in their private lives is different, but in the business sphere, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think very clearly they will have to how do I explain this? They will have to do that, because without that, how do they even build a business, right? Like how do you build a business without that? The other thing is that no business will probably ever say out loud that we are not doing the right thing. They will always say that we're doing the right thing, and there is no doubt. If you are going to assume that a business which is not ethical will claim out loud that we are not ethical, then I think you are living in a fool's world and you're mistaken about that, because I think it doesn't add like that. I mean, that's my clear uh, thought. So it doesn't add like that, to be honest, right? So now I think I'm just rambling right now and repeating what I said already. Business is supposed to make money. The burden or the choice of making it good rests on the people that run it and the founders and the founding team that has put the business together. Uske baad, I think it just becomes a regular maintenance thing uh, uh, that that you have to run. Sorry, you'll have to ask me question again in a different manner to be able to give an answer. I'm struggling for this one.
Then I have examples of other things. For instance, I was, again, this is anecdotal. I came across this on Reddit and I used to watch a lot of Shark Tank. So perhaps coming from that side, I'm sorry if they're your clients by any chance or any connection. Sorry. But this is my question. A lot of people, especially the Shark Tank sharks, apparently, when I looked at some of their business and some of the anecdotes of people who worked at their businesses, Sugar Cosmetics, for instance, the way it positions itself, etc., etc., people say that whatever they say on show versus, and there's a lot of difference between what they say versus what they do. That Sugar Cosmetics positions itself as such, whereas the brand is absolutely shitty, the workers are underpaid, they're overworked, and the boss or the CEO doesn't really care for them. So that's just one instance, and I think, I'm sorry again if that's your
No, no,
brand,
that's okay. I
but
no need to be apologetic here, because that's what I was trying to come to. देख क्या है ना जोई, आपने शुगर की बात करी. लेट मी टॉक ऑफ अ लार्जर monster in the room. Bonvita. I mean,
right,
Bonvita.
Cadbury.
Bonvita has been trying to sell themselves to kids from the time I can remember. तैयारी जीत की एंड बढ़ता बच्चा
हाँ.
एंड पता नहीं क्या क्या देवर सेलिंग, राइट? मतलब मेरे लिए तो बॉर्नविटा वाज अ थिंग दैट आई वुड ईट आउट ऑफ द डब्बा, लाइक डब्बे में डाल के खाता, राइट? नाउ बचपन से पता था बॉर्नविटा खाओगे तो हेल्दी बनोगे. नाउ डज इज मेकिंग मी हेल्दी? एब्सोल्युटली नॉट, मैन. देयर इज freaking tons and tons of sugar and carbs and pata nahi kya kya inside it. It is not healthy at all. If today I'm aware, I will not give Bonvita to anybody, man. Example one. Example two. In India, every juice is not a juice. I mean, they sell it as a juice, but there's no juice to it. There's water. Starbucks में जो दूध मिलता है, they use a milk. It says oat milk, but the percentage of oat in oat milk is like 3%, man. Like what how is oat milk?
मेरा पानी फिर हाँ.
पानी है, मुझे नहीं पता क्या है, बट वो ओट मिल्क, ओट तो नहीं है भाई वो, मतलब वो ओट तो नहीं है, राइट? तो तो मिनट मेड पल्पी ऑरेंज के अंदर वो बोलता है ना कि ऑरेंज ऑरेंज पल्प नहीं है ब्रो, मतलब आई डोंट नो व्हाट इट इज, राइट, एग्जैक्टली। सो यू शुड लिक, ये फूड फार्मर करके जो आदमी है, वो इंस्टा पे बेचारा मर
हाँ
गया है लोगों को पढ़ा पढ़ा के, सिखा सिखा के कि लेबल पढ़ लो देख लो। एंड वंस यू स्टार्ट रीडिंग लेबल्स यू रियलाइज दैट दीस प्रोडक्ट्स आर शिट ब्रो, मतलब क्यों हम खा रहे हैं, क्यों बना रहे हैं, ठीक है। वो है फूड फार्मर हैज बीन फाइटिंग अगेंस्ट द डाबर्स ऑफ द वर्ल्ड एंड पता नहीं क्या क्या, राइट। So there is enough and more evidence that businesses may claim X but they do Y, and we can take example of a sugar, we can take example of a, I don't know man, fruity, we can take example of all these tons and tons of examples are there, मैगी वैगी एग्जाम्पल ले सकते हैं। तो पॉइंट इज कि क्या है ना, again these are, how do I put this? These are large companies that have been built to profiteer from the needs of people. Now, isme one of my friends tells me, and this is again his opinion, I don't may not agree to it. He says, I'm giving you an option to buy a sugar-laden candy to give you that momentary relief from the sad life that you have. I'm giving you that option. I'm not forcing you to buy it. All I'm saying is my product is available. All I'm saying is I will run an ad that will tell you that the product is available, and I will run an ad in a way that makes you want the product. But the choice to buy is human, it's yours. I'm not putting a gun to your head and saying कि भाई खरीद इसको, तो चॉइस तो तेरी है ना। So end of the day, who's the guilty party here? You are the guilty party here. That's what he says. I don't have an opinion to it. I may not agree to it. My answer to him is कि यार तूने प्रोडक्ट बनाया, फिर तू उसकी ऐड कर रहा है और इतनी कंपेलिंग ऐड कर रहा है कि सामने वाला आदमी तो बेचारा खरीद ही लेगा ना। तो अब ये डिबेट है, नेवर एंडिंग डिबेट है। सो आई एम प्रॉब्ली ऑन द साइड ऑफ द राइट थिंग्स टू डू। लाइक फॉर एग्जाम्पल एनी बिजनेस आई रन, फॉर एग्जाम्पल आई कैन टॉक अबाउट माई सेल्फ, if I run a business, if you work with me, I may pay you less money, but I will always pay you on the last working day of the month. I may have to take a loan to do that, but I will pay you. But there are businesses who will say that we'll pay our employees on the seventh of the next month. Why? Like, why would you pay on the seventh day? Did the employee not work for the month? Is there a if it's a process problem, can you not fix the process? If it's a trust deficit की पूरे महीने में एक दिन छुट्टी मार दी होगी उसने, can you not cut it for the next month? Can you know what I'm saying? Like, so why do you have to pay somebody on the seventh of the next month or the 10th? Why can't you pay on the last day of the month? The person has worked a month already, you know. So example दे रहा हूँ मैं, सिर्फ पैसे की example है। Next example, if I promise you something, you will get paid that much. There are companies who will say कि नहीं तो हमने बात तो की थी 50,000 की, बट आपके 3,000 रुपये यहाँ कट गए, 2,000 रुपये यहाँ कट गए, 1,000 रुपये आपके यहाँ कट गए, एंड बाय द टाइम मनी कम्स टू यू आर लाइक शॉक कि ये हुआ क्या। I run a services business, so I can only give you feedback and input on the services companies. Should I make a product, I will ensure that whatever I promise, I deliver to the end whatever buyer. But that's me, and I'm sure there are tons and tons of people who are better than me as well, and there are few people who are probably on the other side of spectrum as well. So I think Joey, it boils down to personal choice. If there are complaints, they will get caught. मैं बता रहा हूँ तेरे को कि अगर शुगर का सामान अच्छा नहीं है ना, इट विल कैच अप टू देम। मतलब आई एम नॉट सेइंग कर्मा है, आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि भगवान देख रहा है, आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि जेल हो रही है, बट एज अ बिजनेस दैट बिजनेस विल फाइंड इट टफ टू ग्रो बियॉन्ड द लिमिट। बचपन में हमारे पास एक ब्रांड होता था माइक्रोमैक्स करके, माइक्रोमैक्स shittiest fucking product in the world, and today do you know what it does? We don't know what it does, man. The founder is alive, he's running a new business, he got married to a famous Bollywood actress, but the business is shut. Same thing will probably happen to sugar. Probably Nestle had to then say Atta Maggie, to sell Maggie. I don't know how much Atta is there in that Atta Maggie. So I think life catches up, man. It may not happen in one generation. We may not be around to see the outcome, but in three generations, the business will wiped off. All the businesses that have ceased to exist in the last few years probably weren't doing the right things because there was nobody there to save them. Maybe that, I don't know the answer there. So it's a subjective question, subjective answer. You need to know what side you're on, and how you uh, make that happen. So yeah, that's, I think that's the answer there.
I just want to bring in some anecdotal data here.
Please.
When I was in the UK and the whole October 7 happened, and there were people who were boycotting Starbucks exclusively.
Hmm.
There were posters that you need to boycott
Yeah,
Starbucks because it's essentially funding the war there.
absolutely.
So that is one aspect of it. And again, when you open the internet, there are brands like Coca Cola is also, people said stop buying Coca Cola because Again, it's sponsoring the war. Sorry. Again, it's sponsoring the war. So that is when it struck me that there are people who take these things very seriously. There's this element of morality कि इस point के बाद तो हम बर्दाश्त नहीं करेंगे. Like if it's funding the war or something, if the company is funding the war in a place where the rights are being trampled. So I'm looking at that perspective as well, the larger perspective, not just कि product बेकार है and workers को mistreat किया जाता है, but also the larger ramifications of a brand.
देख उसमें क्या है ना, let me burst a bubble. The global economy that we live in, it is so intertwined that you cannot isolate one and operate from there. So for example, you may say that I will boycott Starbucks, argument's sake. But by boycotting Starbucks because it's funding the war in whatever XYZ, you probably jeopardize all the thousands of farmers that Starbucks is buying from. So the trickle down effect is like a thing. I do not know how would they get compensated if tomorrow Starbucks is to be shut. Then all the farmers that it's buying from, what happens to them because they're exclusively selling to Starbucks. So I do not know impact of this boycott. कितना boycott होता है, but you understand, right, that that has ramifications. If you say that we will not consume Coca-Cola, I mean Coca-Cola gives to move this can from wherever to wherever. They probably need, say, a shipping line to transport tin from I don't know somewhere to India. Then they need to ship it to one place. Then Coca-Cola factory is hiring people. So it is easy for us to say that we'll boycott Coca-Cola, even if we are successful in a way that we are able to impact their sales by 1%. The second order third effect order effects we don't even know about it. मतलब वो इतना intertwined है कि कैसे हम उसको चीज़ को कर सकते हैं. Plus by avoiding one thing, you cannot survive. I mean for example in India, uh, PepsiCo और Coca-Cola are not that big, but in the US and Londons of the world, पानी भी बेच रहे हैं वो, सॉफ्ट ड्रिंक्स भी बेच रहे हैं वो, कुकीज़ भी बेच रहे हैं वो. So if you boycott Coca-Cola, you may boycott Coke, but how do you boycott smart water that you have to drink for, let's say, hydration? How do you boycott Kinley or whatever? I don't know the brands they sell there. If you were to boycott a retail chain like a Costco or whatever, or Carrefour or whatever that is there in UK or whatever, how do you survive life at all? So I think uh, ये boycott तो मैं तो I think I laugh at boycotts, to be honest, because you may try very very hard but you may not be able to ever uh, मेक अ आयोटा डिफरेंस इन द लाइव्स ऑफ दोस ब्रांड्स. मतलब वो भी ब्रांड मैनेजर भी हंस रहा होगा कि 6 लोग मिलके बॉयकॉट कर रहे हैं, 6 लोग तो मैं फ्री में बांट देता हूँ, 6 कैन तो मैं फ्री में बांट देता हूँ, मतलब जो भी हो. आई डोंट नो, राइट. सो आई या मतलब आई थिंक देयर थिंग्स दैट आर ग्रेट on paper, but on the ground in real life they may or may not. I don't know. I'm not the right person. In fact, abhi I'll just touch on a related subject. This entire cockroach Janata Party thing. I was writing this in my blog in the morning and I wrote it. As an individual, I've always been super against any sort of a dharna or a strike or a pause. I have not liked ever in my life. But these kids have made me rethink my stand on धरनास because they जो भी हुआ मुझे नहीं पता क्या हुआ कैसे हुआ, but the education minister had to go, and I can directly attribute his resignation to this movement. And all my life I've always thought strike से कुछ नहीं होता, डिसरप्शन होता है, लोगों की लाइफ खराब होती है, क्यों करना है, क्या आउटकम निकलता है. But I was a cynic, but today I have been proven wrong, and I'm very very uh, how do I put it? I'm very very uh, glad, surprised, angry at myself कि मैं इतना blind कैसे होता हूँ. So same in the same vein, when I say that boycotting a Coke may or may not take you places, maybe in my lifetime I'll be proven wrong that Coke boycott करा तो war रुक गई. तो maybe that happens, maybe it doesn't happen. So I don't know the answer of this one from a पर्सनल इंडिविजुअल लेंस. फैफ करने के लिए मैं कुछ भी बोल सकता हूँ इधर को कि अरे होना चाहिए, अरे नहीं होना चाहिए. बट द पॉइंट ऑफ दिस कॉन्वर्सेशन इज टू बी honest with each other and learn and acknowledge our uh, uh, life and our shortcomings. So that you know
Right. These were my questions. This is
Amazing.
the end of my questions.
Awesome. Thank you. Great questions. Really made me think and really put me out of my comfort zone. I hope to do more of this. And what we should do is, whenever we put them out, put this conversation out, I'll try to find data points. Ki, कितना लोग क्रेडिट कार्ड पे यूज कर रहे हैं, BNPL पे क्या हुआ, सो दैट दिस इज मोर इन्फॉर्मेटिव फॉर पीपल टू look at and build a thesis around it. So I think that's something that we should do. Super amazing. Thank you for this, Joey. I'm glad that we could talk. It's been a while, but I'm glad we could talk. We should do this more often. We should ask more tough questions,
Yes.
not easy questions.